Welcome, good evening, and thank you all for being here tonight to talk a little bit more about the engine. I'm Israel Ruiz. I'm the Executive Vice President Treasurer at MIT, and I have been working alongside many of you in the room and beyond this room to make sure that the engine is a helpful motivator for some of you to be here, for some of you to be thinking about innovation for hard tech. But we wouldn't be here if it wasn't really that we hadn't accomplished certain important things. And that one very significant important thing is that we were able to hire the leader of the engine. So today I'm thrilled to be able to introduce to you the President and CEO of the engine, Katie Ray. Following the launch on October 26, we conducted an extensive search for getting the right person at the right time to lead this amazing effort. In Katie, we have found that person with the experience, the vision, the energy, and the passion needed to realize the highest aspirations we have for the engine, for MIT, and for the region as a whole. Many of you already know Katie. She's a veteran tech innovator in Boston and Cambridge. She led Techstars in Boston from 2010 to 2014. And after that, she's been the managing director at Project 11, which she co-founded since that time. Now, with Katie on board, we thought of organizing tonight as an info session for the founders. So before we get started, I think I would like to poll the audience and how many of you are either founders, founders to be, or the entrepreneurs? Awesome. So with that in mind, it is Katie's show. Kate, thank you.
All right, thank you, Israel. Oh, I'm not in that mic. I'm on this mic. That's easier. Well, thanks everyone for showing up. This is a lot of fun. When I looked at the RSVP list, it was exciting to see just the number of people, both collaborators and inventors and scientists that were going to show up tonight to talk about what is the engine, what are we trying to accomplish here, and how do you get involved. So as Israel said, I've been involved in innovation and entrepreneurship for a long time, and both on the entrepreneurial side as well as on the investor side. And there's nothing more fun than helping very early stage, companies or proto companies discover what they could be and make a huge impact in the world. It's definitely my life's work to be involved with people who want to accomplish that in the world. And I felt very strongly after meeting with Anantha and Israel and a whole bunch of other people involved in the engine that it would be a lot of fun to try to crack the code and to bring what has been so successful in the software industry to much harder tech. And so that's why I'm here. And there is a lot to figure out, but we live, I think, in one of the richest, deepest ecosystems of smart people with big ideas who want to make the world better. So I couldn't think of a better spot to put the engine and a better group of people to collaborate with. So thank you everyone for being here. And I just want to say now, I look forward to working with many of you and discovering what we can make together. So I do have a few formal slides, even though I hate slides, but here we go. There is not a day that goes by that you don't open up a journal article or a newspaper and read about scientists and engineers in this area that are reinventing the world. It just is astonishing, the number of things that come out of this ecosystem. And I'm sure everyone feels that way. But despite all that, many of these incredible innovations don't make it all the way to commercialization and to be really realized in the world in the way they should. And many of you, I'm sure, have read the Washington Post piece by Rafael Reif about innovation orchards and how we could recreate this. So I'm not going to belabor that. If you haven't read it, you should. It's a great piece. But if you look at the data, there's a real gap. There is a lot of science funding, although many people think that is going to diminish and is diminishing over time. And then much later, there's a lot of money in venture, billions and billions of dollars on both sides. But there is this gap between the science and what I'll call escape velocity, where you kind of know this will be a business. And I think hard tech gets caught in that gap in a much deeper way than, say, software does or some other areas of investment. And we're trying to fix that. You know, could we build a platform that makes it easier and cheaper for an entrepreneur to build a hard tech problem? I mean, that's the code we're cracking here. And I wouldn't be standing here if I didn't think we could. So, and I don't think MIT lightly invested into this in the way that they are if the community at large here didn't believe we could too. So there are many, many areas of investment that we will look at. And these are just, you know, some of the main ones. But everyone has to remember here, we are investing into our ecosystem and into entrepreneurs. So when people say to me, well, what are you going to invest in? What I say to them is, I want hard tech problems and great entrepreneurs. You cannot force people into ideas. They have to want to actually bring them to life as a team and create a company. And so I want to support people that want that. And you know, that separates a lot of people. Not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. That's okay. Many people should remain as scientists. That's okay. But for the ones who want to take this journey to being an entrepreneur and growing a hard tech company, we want to be the most incredible support system you can find, and you know, and have the dollars in order to do that. So, you know, when people keep asking me, what's the specific criteria for investment? The number one thing is you've got to have a founding team. You have to have people that want to dedicate their life to creating the company. And not their entire lives. I mean, many of us do multiple companies over time, but you've got to be committed to it. If you're not, it's really tough to be an entrepreneur. And it's really tough to create a game-changing company over the long term. The other thing is, you gotta have real science and technology behind this. You know, as people have said, like, we're not creating the next dating app. Like, that has been done and it's well-serviced. We're creating things with deeper science behind them that I think will be very important to society in the future. And then it's got to have a pretty big market over time. You might start in a very narrow market, but you've got to see a vision to something that could be big and impactful. And I think that's a very important one. And then I think the engine needs to be able to help you. Like, there are plenty of companies where we're not going to be able to help them, and they should find other capital and other support systems. But we should be able to actually help you go faster, find the right people. And that's a pretty broad group of people I think we can help, but that's an important one to remember. So those are the main criteria. And the other piece is, it's got to be an early stage company. Like, we're not going to start by doing a bunch of B round investments where we invest $20 million. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in the beginning, and projects that we may invest much more in over time, but we can start and learn together with a smaller investment. And then we will continue to follow on if we think it's appropriate and if we think we can be helpful. So I know there'll be a lot of questions on this from entrepreneurs looking for money. Many of those are going to be better served individually because every company is different. And you know, what milestones you're going to try to achieve are all unique to the problem you're trying to crack. And so a lot of those we'll have to do one-on-one. The fund will be $150 million, and over the next several years, we'll invest into 50 or 60 companies with that money, okay? And our ambition is this is the first of many funds, and that we're going to be really good at this, and we will just ignite a whole ecosystem of harder tech companies here in this area. Click. So this to me is the most important slide. The thing that I think in 10 years that we'll look back on and feel incredibly proud of is that we've created a founder community of like-minded people trying to do incredibly ambitious startups, and that they will find support from each other and from the community that we live in. And that will be the enduring asset. I've seen it, I've created it in the past, and a strong founder community is an unstoppable force in the world. And that's what we want, and that's what we're going to create at the Engine. And there's probably nothing I'll protect more than making sure that the founders can bond with each other, and that they're there for each other, and that there's a culture of pushing each other and helping each other. Because when that happens, it's magical. So that, to me, is the core of what we'll do. We're also going to create, and I'll talk a little bit more about the Engine Room, which I think many of you heard about, a whole set of services for the founders that we invest into, and access to equipment that might be hard for other people to get access to. We'll also have that. Again, we'll have funding. And then the outpouring of people who want to collaborate with the Engine, both as mentors, as other businesses in the area, fellow inventors and investors, has been tremendous. I mean, my email box is literally flooded with later stage investors who are like, I can't wait to see what comes out of the Engine. I want to invest after you, to many, many other people in the region who work and collaborate with entrepreneurs that want to work with the Engine. And I think that is incredibly exciting. And we'll have a lot of time to invent many things together as a community, which I'm excited about. So the initial space will be at 501 Mass Ave, and if any of you have walked by there, you see there actually is already the Engine sign on the front door, and that'll be 26,000 square feet of space that will open, I don't know, April, early May-ish, and it will be great space to not only collaborate, there'll be maker space in there, and some lab space as well. Depending on what kind of companies we have in there, we will reconfigure the space to accommodate people. And then the Engine Room, as I said, is this online marketplace that we're working collaboratively across many of the universities, as well as industry here in Boston, to allow people to use different specialized equipment and have access to people with expertise. So that is also launching as well. And just some info. How do you get involved? So many people have already submitted their ideas to the Engine that are looking for funding and want to be a part of it. I am in the middle of reading all of that right now. So if you're one of those people, I am literally reading all of your submissions, and it's a lot of fun because the ideas are enormously varied. There are many serial entrepreneurs in there to first-time entrepreneurs, and it's exciting to read the ideas. But if you haven't submitted, it would be a good idea too, because then we have a way to start communicating with each other. For those of you who are not founders, I take it really seriously when people recommend a startup to us. I think almost about 75% of the startups I've ever invested into were recommended specifically by another human being to me. And so, this is a close community, and the best way to find great entrepreneurs is from the people sitting in this audience and other people that we know as well. So please send me recommendations of interesting areas I should look at, great people I should talk to. There will be many ways for people to contribute to events that we put on and collaborations that we're going to put together. I don't want to be specific about those right now because I'm working on what those will be, but know that those are coming. I think we have the richest set of mentors, I would say, in the world, but maybe that's too ambitious to say. But having run a mentorship-driven program, I will tell you that in the Techstars network, Boston stands out not only by the number of mentors, but the depth of knowledge and understanding across many areas. And I think the Engine will have a worldwide network of mentors of people who can help harder tech companies. And I'm really excited to build that. And many of you, I assume, will be a part of that. And then we also are working with many of the other corporate members of this community who want to be helpful and help startups and donate equipment. So please get involved if I haven't talked to you yet about that. I already talked about that. Some people have asked me, can they invest in the fund? Happy to talk to you if that's something that's of interest, but the check size is rather large, so, I hope there are a lot of billionaires here. Just kidding. In the making, certainly. Yeah, I think by Fund 5, it will all be founder money of people investing what they've made. That would be my hope. And then we also have, and I'm not going to talk about it a long time here, but we have this Pathways to Invention program that we're going to be running locally in the community to help high school students figure out how to be inventors in the future. So that's something quite different than the Engine, but a collaboration that we'll have with the City of Cambridge. So there'll be many ways to collaborate in that as well. And that is all I have as a formal presentation. And then Israel's going to come up and introduce Anantha, and then we're going to do a Q&A session. So there'll be lots of times to ask questions. I will be here afterwards if people want to talk. I'm happy to stay as long as my voice lasts, probably at least a couple hours, if people want to talk about their projects or have any other specific personal questions they want to ask. So thank you.